I think I'm of a philosophy that if we are not disrupting ourselves, somebody else will do that.
I think you're being a little bit humble about it, right? This is the best of Google, this is the best of GPT, and this is the best of on your own data. So it's like if I could mix Google, Chat GPT, and on my own data, like my preferences, and get an answer, I would love that. Welcome to CXO Spotlight, powered by Flywheelr. I'm your host, Chirag Khanijau, and today we are cutting through the GenAI hype cycle with a leader whose team is delivering measurable business value in weeks, not months. Our guest is Vishal Shukla, CEO of RySun Labs, who's transformed his company from a product engineering to a CMMI Level 5 GenAI consultancy with proprietary AI teammates that are revolutionizing retail and enterprise IT. Welcome, Vishal. Welcome to the show. How are you today?
Thank you, Chirag. I'm doing well.
Awesome. Super. Let's get started. So, Vishal, you have led RySun's evolution from product engineering to a GenAI first consultancy. Can you walk us through that journey and what you saw that many others might have missed?
Sure. For us, we think it's a natural evolution. How we have seen the overall technology landscape, if we see in the last 25 years of cycles, how we started from analog to digital, digital to software, software to, products to data, and data to probably AI, and now Gen AI. So for us also as a company, we've been in business for over 2 decades, and that has helped us to evolve with our customers, evolve with the evolving landscape of technology, and we have been lifelong learners, so to speak. So always interested and curious about how we really navigate what's new in the world of technology and how we can leverage that new for businesses, because it's not just a engineering obsession that we want to play with, but also what at the end of the day it means for business. So I think
Yeah.
being a product engineering company, we've always been dreamers for building good products, and we have done in the past transformed a couple of other industries. When we talk about our exposure in the ticketing and the entertainment landscape, our products in hospitality, which is eCube, the product is pretty successful at a national level in some geographies, and taking care of hospitality initiatives broadly, so to speak. But then, having a 10-year life cycle of software products led us to something different, which was now we've got so much data. And how do we really play with that data, learn from that data, and build better use cases for business, on that data? Traditionally, we started, of course, with analytics and data as a service initiatives, but that led us to the eventual journey, which is like, okay, we can do forecasting, we can do futuristic initiatives using machine learning and AI technologies as well. And then 2022, the democratization of what we see the LLM models happening was a game changer. And I think with the background of software engineering, with the background of data engineering, understanding data, as well as understanding the business domains, kind of motivated us to try something which is helping us even for a more futuristic initiative. And I think as a company, team, we evangelized it for pretty much first couple of quarters and built our own internal use cases on what we feel. I think our product management background helped us to be more stronger on the business use cases of Gen AI. But I think now, having evolved through that journey, we can say it was good that we kind of jumped on that initiative early on. While probably the technology was evolving, there was a lot of hallucination and risk of whether the data is getting exposed to an external third party. How are we thinking of the risks of implementing newer technology, so to speak?
Yeah. I think you're being a little bit humble about it because since I get to speak with a lot of IT services CEOs as well as the chief information officers and the chief data officers who are sort of the buyer side of the journey, I hear quite often that they want somebody who's practically using it for a business use case rather than a technology use case, right? So I went hunting for which is that IT services that is building a business use case, not the technical use case, right? Not for the sake of it. On the second hand, the problem that I discovered why I could not find a company like that so easily, even though I found many, and one of those was RySun, was that there is a risk of cannibalizing your existing revenue by taking that bet, right? There's a risk of doing that. So I think there is a personal leadership journey here too, because what convinced you as the CEO of the company to make such a significant pivot with GenAI when that was not mainstream at that time?
Well, I think I'm of a philosophy that if we are not disrupting ourselves, somebody else will do that.
Yeah.
So I think being early adopters of technology has never given us goosebumps, or we have been like not aware about the risks of taking that initiative. But like I said before, we always had that product management background, what was helping us to de-risk of the purpose behind it, right? If we are trying to generate something more futuristic, something more productive, something more autonomous for our customers, for our businesses that we support, I think we are helping them impact their bottom line or impact their top line. And that is what businesses globally are looking for. They are not looking for the next shiny technology that we can bring on the table only, right? And to that point of ROI, we felt if we are not taking this ahead of time, we are doing a disservice to what we always talk to our customer in terms of our philosophy and value of creating impact. So creating impact is one of the important RySun values, and that is where learning and evolving through this phase of Gen AI is where we have navigated so far. So I would say it's positive. It will definitely impact our traditional revenue cycle, but we want to be our own disruptors rather than waiting for somebody to eat our lunch.
Yeah, yeah, and thank you for being brave. I mean, it's good to discover companies like that, and I want some of those examples to come out. So let's double click on the ROI a little bit because I want our listeners to listen to some real use cases. Right? I read somewhere you said that context-rich micro journeys kind of outperform the monolithic AI deployments as such. So can you unpack a use case where a hyper focus like Gen AI moment drove a major business outcome? Some real example.
Absolutely. So I think I'll talk a little bit about two use cases. One is the platform Ron that we have built so far. The whole evangelizing journey has led us to build a platform called Ron. And Ron is like our horizontal layer of hosting multiple LLM models within our own private cloud environment, enterprise cloud environment. And what we do is that Ron platform accelerates the journey of any enterprise, so to speak, to bring their data on the platform, leverage the private LLMs depending on the choices and the feasibility of what model works best for what industry. Because there are different use cases. If we talk about just the technology aspect of it, if it is summarization, maybe a different model might work better over other. If it is image, a different model might work better over other. So depending on that, the library and the open models that we leverage, not exposing your data out of your own enterprise or out of your own hyperscaler environment, so that you are not facing the risk of getting exposed towards a third party GPT or a third party training data model, is what we took a step one of leveraging our accelerator on. Step two of that was, okay, there is a faster accelerated technology, but how are we leveraging it again to the point of business and ROI? So that's where the context of understanding the domain, understanding the product part of it was something that helped us quite a bit to say, if we are experts at conversational commerce, as an example, in retail technology, how are we understanding buyer's intent, shopper's intent within that? And the micro contexts within that are, let's say, I'm talking about conversational commerce, e-commerce, but then the subcategories within that are so much hyper personalized that the terminologies for a home decor category would be way different in terms of a buying intent versus the terminologies of a sports and fitness category or an apparel category or something which is a beauty category. So the aspirations of user journeys that they are coming onto a conversational layer, leveraging Gen AI, leveraging a specific vertical product experience would need that micro context. And that's where the product management, the industry expertise, and the domain expertise that also we train those models with that layer of, I would say, data is something that helps the business quite a bit rather than they're trying to take it as an engineering project. This is more of a experience project.
Yeah, I want to understand it a little bit better. You're saying this is much beyond the demographic segregation. This is more about the behavioral and aspirational, that what the customer might be looking for based on occasion, their preferences, much beyond their age and such kind of demographic, right? So really like a contextual awareness conversation, right?
Those, like the demographics and behavioral aspect, would be at a point generic. And what happens post that is, okay, how specific I'm becoming. For example, I'll take two examples. As if I'm going into a home decor category, I would just start with saying I'm buying a new home, I'm remodeling my existing home. And then the conversational commerce piece talks to you about your journey and your exploration of what exactly you're looking. Till now, the bots that we have seen so far is like, oh, I want to buy a couch, I want to buy a chair or a sofa, whatever those products might be. Those are very keyword oriented specific examples which are generic keyword oriented search, just getting into a conversational experience of it. The Gen AI understands your intent, gives you a hyper personalization experience, and helps you find or helps you achieve your intent much faster than ideally you would do with any other channel, is where the whole transformation of user experience is also, I would say, pivoting. And if I'm going to let's say an apparel fitness segment, I'm just going to ask questions based on my preference on adventure. I want to buy hiking shoes. I'm not saying I want to buy shoes, and I need to see what is exactly the hyper personalization answer to me, depending on some follow up questions that the bot ask me, but ultimately is leading me to not go through in my traditional experience, a typical search bar in an e-commerce site, or navigating through 3 clicks of category, subcategory, and the products into an e-commerce site. So that
Yeah,
whole
this is like the
experience.
best of all the worlds, right? This is the best of Google, this is the best of GPT, and this is the best of on your own data. So it's like if I could mix Google, Chat GPT, and on my own data, like my preferences, and get an answer, I would love that. So that's what it sounds like.
I mean, the simple intent is, do you get me? It's as simple as
Yeah.
that. And when you say you get me, for one individual, it might be very easy, or for a one specific trained approach, it might be very easy. But when you get a variety of demographics, to your point, when you get a variety of buyers within a segment, how are you catering to their needs in a more intent-oriented fashion? Is what we feel that ShopMate and Ron, our two of the products, have been able to successfully service our customers and change the whole experience of navigation. So
All right. So I think I'm going to ask some question that should provide value to some of our listeners, because it's proven that you're delivering it in the Gen AI from the business use case. So you must have seen and made mistakes and seen the pitfalls of it. I want to know what's according to you, because as a CEO you have a good vantage of seeing what's working and what's not working at your different clients, right? Like some things would work, some experiments would not work, right? So what's the most counterintuitive aspect of driving this fast Gen AI ROI that most leaders are missing today?
I'd say counterintuitive is like, sometimes you've seen experiences where, the buyers are, I can do it myself. That's kind of a mindset. And we talk to CEOs, CTOs, or, VP of innovation or technology sometimes, that, they are being mandated with the decisions of their board is asking them the question to say, where is Gen AI strategy in our role? And maybe they are just trying to fulfill that wish of their leadership. But I think if they don't bind it with the ROI part of it, it's like a little bit of a gap, and again it goes becoming an engineering gig rather than something different. So I think adoption is one, DIY that a lot of times the leaders feels that they can do it is second, and they can do it, but it's like the experience of your own hyper personalized data training as well as the domain expertise. If you bring that on table, then that's a differentiator for anybody who wants to do it yourself kind of an approach as well. So I think those are the two aspects of, how are you going to have an adoption strategy within your enterprise? How are you looking at your ROI in the longer term, not the shorter term that you implemented Gen AI? And how aligned are you with the domain experience of, or the domain context of hyper personalization with this new initiative? Are the
Yeah.
three areas that I think we should be careful.
Super. I'm going to ask you a tough question, because I think a lot of your peers, now I'll not talk about the buyers, a lot of your peers who are enterprise IT services or IT solution providers in the market, right? Now, a lot of time the proof is in the pudding, right? Like exactly at what point? Because what is happening is that in the market, there are a lot of naysayers for Gen AI now, because we have become so desensitized of the hype cycle, and then the draw of, oh, it's not delivering value. So in this market which is flooded with this theoretical AI strategies, you have launched like 5 products. I saw ShopMate, TechMate, now Ron you were talking about, right? So from discovery to fulfillment, let's take two extremes, right? What's one customer interaction that made you, even the most skeptical customers say that, okay, this is the future? Where did they get convinced on the value?
The short answer in the whole spectrum of from discovery to delivery is aligning it to that business ROI part of it. I think that is the one key differentiator, because I think everybody understands it, everybody gets it of how can I leverage open source models, or maybe some specific models now available in so many hyperscalers also, to just say, let me start my own small Gen AI initiative. I'll pass my sample company data into it, and I'll build a use case to try it out. That's that's fine. You can definitely try that out. But I think the whole journey of it, like you said, end to end, is something that is not thought through. And I think within that, this adoption experience of how enterprises are looking at it, how your business is actually going to transition towards that conversational journey. Because today, if you see, where do you meet your customer? Enterprise customers are generating tickets in tools like ServiceNow and Zendesk, and they would request transactions from the separate groups where they are trying to get some outcome from. So service tickets is one area, customer service is another area, customer success is another area. If we talk about search and say e-commerce is the third area. Whether we talk about all these different initiatives, the business ROI of validating that where am I today, what is my current consumption in terms of my traditional ticketing system or my traditional platform, and if I'm using this technology with business adoption, where am I seeing that benefit? If I'm improving on my top line, if I'm improving on my bottom line, if it is changing the whole customer experience, any of those measures, if I calculate accordingly, may help me in that journey to become more relevant, so to speak, in the longer term. So
Yeah.
I think we have seen customers. I'll just give a couple of examples here. We had a customer who wanted to implement it on the HR side of bot, and we started quickly writing up a potential feasible plan, some use cases that we feel that are appropriate. And our product team came with like 25 use cases that, hey, dear customer, this is what we feel that product can help you in this. HR bot journey for your organization. It was a 4,000 people organization, oil and gas company as a category, and they had visions and dreams and a little bit of a pressure from the board also about the Gen AI initiative.
Right.
Long story short, I think we had to trim down the use cases from 25 to 5,
Mm.
because the goal was less is more. Let's just focus on core and not just do the all the things in the world. And that's true for any project or product aspect that we want to do while we transform an initiative. So that was the first basic principle that we initiated with. The second one was, let's not try to over promise and under deliver. Let's just do the reverse. So we did some validation in terms of their as is cases. How much is the dependency? How much is the shift that we will be making through Gen AI if we are using the new product? What are the commitments from the broader business groups of adoption, so on and so forth? And once we had those calculations, we kind of got into the room to get the commitment of the customer, have them understand what is it that the heavy lift they need to do at their end while we do the technology and the implementation left. And that combined with a tight strategic roadmap plan and business alignment helped us to navigate through that initiative fairly. If we would have gone by the original wish list of the customer, it was like, disagreeing to agree with them for the bigger purpose objective. So that's something that we have experienced, from the whole spectrum of discovery to delivery. And even in our conversational commerce use cases, what we find is that the feasibility aspect at the customer end, while they want to implement customer experience initiatives, so to speak. So the ROI is clear, but the readiness of data, the readiness of connectors, the readiness of lot of dependency factor is not there. And then we would kind of slow it down to say, let's just do the prerequisites first, because just trying a Gen AI is not going to help us. It's going to work. It's going to give you a good result. So let's not worry about those technology aspects of feasibility and quality, but let's ensure that we worry about the whole experience of what we're trying to deliver as a whole. I think one new category is emerging, Chirag. I'm sure you must have heard it from your other buyers and other service providers also, is getting readiness in terms of data for Gen AI is like a new category of offering that we
Yeah.
see a lot of service providers focusing into.
Data rooms and separating it out. Yeah. I think here is what I heard, and I think a lot of our listeners should think about is that what I heard from you, if I can summarize my learning from this, is this: that first of all, be a provider that is opinionated, because a lot of time the service providers have been, the strategy is done, the project plan is made, go execute that. But this Gen AI is kind of bringing business and IT so much together. So be opinionated, which I think you didn't said that was the key thing, because a lot of companies in your place would have executed 20 of those use cases because that's what customers wish is, right? But the second layer is even more interesting, which is the feasibility aspect of it. One is the data readiness, integration, the endpoints and things like that, or even the accuracy of data governance and all that, right? But that's technical, and that is there. I think a lot of companies would do that. The second one is, like you said, the feasibility of the value to the business, right? But I think my favorite, which gets always missed and why projects don't hit, even if it's a phenomenal MVP or something like that, is because we forget the human aspect of it, that these business owners are actually human beings, right? And they have a workflow that they're used to. If it completely changes their day in the life and it asks them to do completely different, even being the most accurate or incredible system will not get adoption. And if it's not adoption, then it's not a successful business use case. So I think I love the whole journey of it. I'm sure somebody can make a framework out of it, of feasibility pattern.
Just two
Yeah.
aspects that I would add on, and thank you for summarizing it. Probably my answers were too long and lengthy, but you helped me nail it down. Thank you, Chirag. I think one part of it is a lot of service providers, because this is the new hype cycle. We are also
Mhm.
trying to evangelize. We are
Mhm.
always, I would say, desperate to sell them to our buyers, and the buyers are also in the heat of the moment, interested to get going. Sometimes we feel we'll solve it by the way, as we evolve into the project and everybody understands it's a little bit of a new tech and we may not hit the 100% mark of achieving what we want to achieve. I think that's where we make mistake, because small is better, less is better, less worked out with a better, I would say, success ratio is going to be super important here. So I think I would just suggest all my uh, service provider community to not sell it hard, but to sell it slow. I think that is going to be, in the longer term, a better success recipe for all of us. And let's be extremely business sensitive, because
Yeah.
it depends on the category of your buyer. But I think our large language models in terms of our business categorization is, we change a different approaches based on whether we are talking to a customer in a business vertical, whether it is retail or CPG, or we are talking to a high tech customer, because I think the expectation and the buyer sentiments and the behavior readiness of both this or all these different categories is very different. So I think we also have to be sensitive to that aspect
Mhm.
of what vertical your customer comes from.
Yeah, and I think that's why one of the times I asked this question to the enterprise buyers, right? And I asked them, how do you choose your Gen AI provider? Because I know for very large projects and annuity based projects, you have your favorite system integrators, incumbents that you choose. But I know you're choosing new providers. And one of the biggest thing they say is the vertical expertise or the industry expertise they have. So yeah, makes sense. All right. So moving on, I'm curious about the future of the products that you are building, like ShopMate, Ron, TechMate, RevMate, a lot of products that you've made. What are you thinking about the next generation of these AI copilots or teammates that you have built? What's the future of this?
So I think one is, like you mentioned, with the products that we are trying to offer, we are trying to be as much as possible vertical focused or technology focused. Each product that we are offering is specific to either solving a technology and a subject matter or a domain problem, or either it's like focused on the horizontal part of it, that okay, we are trying to service this layer of it, and that is what helps you to translate or accelerate your journey towards delivering a business use case. So I think we are going more vertical with domain and horizontal with technology, so to speak. And I think the future that I foresee in the short term, when I say short term, maybe the next 2 years, is there are specialized bots getting built in companies. We talk about bots serving specific purposes of conversational commerce, customer service, HR bots, and so on and so forth. A lot of finance use cases are evolving where all the mundane tasks, which were of course getting automated even in the you know RPA era, is kind of becoming more intelligent with Gen AI integrated into those initiatives as well. So I think vertical specific bots are becoming more and more efficient, while I think the next phase of it is becoming workflow oriented as well. So you are not just trying to solve a specific feature or a specific task with your vertical bot, but now
Mhm.
that vertical bot can talk to other bots, those
Agentic.
bots can talk to other systems, and I think that's the whole journey that
Mhm.
can be solved in reference to agentic, in reference to workflows, in reference to collaborating and orchestrating various bots within an organizational or an enterprise environment. So
Yeah, I think this is like the cloud moment for a lot of enterprises. At times, people used to really care about every cloud service that I have bought. And then the whole thing came that I want to have a single pane of glass. I don't care what I'm using, it should be for the right purpose. When you said this, I realized that today people care about my HR bot, my XYZ bot delivering that future. In future, maybe your products look like on the back end, everything will be orchestrated by the agent, but your MCP layer would kind of decide which model to pick on the fly, right? Is that where the world is
Exactly.
going? Yeah.
And that is where I would say the horizontalness of Ron as a platform also helps us while we have individual products like ShopMate, TechMate, Revit, and so on.
Oh, fantastic. Super. All right. I want to talk about a topic that sometimes in this excitement gets lost, but enterprises cannot turn their eye from it. It's super important for them, which is security and some of these hallucinations challenges, right? Because you're bringing in these systems into your business process that serves thousands of users. So, particularly hallucination and security risk. How are you solving for these challenges, like without slowing down the deployment velocity, let's say?
I think, of course, from a platform configuration, there are guardrails. So at least we want to ensure that we don't make bad mistakes. So that's one based on how we are trying to configure guardrails, and each for each of our products, I think we have got those configurators in the early phase of building those things, that the model should not at least spit out something which is not governed through this rules, so to speak. So that's one. The second is we have always believed, and that's where our offering in Gen AI has not been like, we are not offering anybody Gen AI services or Gen AI opportunities from our end on something outside of our platform at this point. So it's more within their enterprise, within the network. So it's all private model based, and it's all within their own hyperscaler environment that we are also trying to be careful about. And then the connector which talks to their own internal systems. So because we have learned and understood the data landscape, and we have kind of got good expertise in terms of governance or any security aspect of data, and as well as complying on the GDPR or the CCPA guidelines or any other global guidelines in terms of the ISMS standards as well. So I think that helps us to ensure that the risks of data getting exposed to external environment outside of the enterprises are minimized, number one. And the second part of risk, which is the experience risk of user not getting hallucination or not getting any information outside of the guardrails, is something that we try to leverage as much as within the product and the model itself.
Yeah. I think I'm very curious about one thing which makes me kind of think how things have changed drastically than what it used to be. Like, 2 decades in this IT services industry, I at the end of the year and 12 conferences that we used to go to, you could tell these were the themes or the flavor of the year, right? But things have evolved so quickly with AI, right? My question is that among your, let's say, Fortune 500 or 1,000 clients that you have, what capabilities are they asking for now that were not on their radar like 6 months ago?
I think, like I said, the direction that they are heading towards, even with this focus on, are we leveraging Gen AI for impacting our top line, bottom line? I think the last 6 months have been a little bit of a difficult situation when it comes to the broader geopolitical situation, more specifically of the North American markets. But I think leadership is looking at either something that can impact their bottom line. Now, Gen AI is, at least to start with, it's a spend, and eventually it's an ROI. So, the leadership is like a little bit of in the chicken and egg situation of, how do I approach this? But I think more and more leaders have seen this use cases kind of impacting their bottom lines, whether it is productivity use cases, customer experience use cases, so on and so forth. So the adoption from, I would say, the executive leadership of this Fortune 1000 customers has been that let's measure it with a approach of what is it impacting us in terms of, most possibly financial ROIs.
Yeah, that
So
is
that's
true.
where either am I able to reduce headcount, am I able to reduce some kind of or improve on my top line, if that is something that I'm able to do. And if that happens, they can completely invest that budget into something more productive for business, given the uncertainty of the geopolitical situation as well. So I think those conversations have happened with so many customers, and that's where also Gen AI is becoming more relevant, so to speak. It's just how early adopters each enterprises and what their culture allows them to also lead into.
True. All right, we'll do something fun now. We'll do a rapid fire round, right? Short answers and does not have to be politically correct. You can speak your mind. Yeah. traditional IT services versus Gen AI consultancy, which business model do you think wins in 2 years?
I mean, the answer is obvious: GenAI consultancy.
Okay. Okay. What's one Gen AI use case everyone is ignoring right now that will be mainstream by next year?
Agentic.
Okay. And what's one habit that gives you personally a big productivity advantage?
I have tried to change my behavior. It was tough initially, but I think I have given some of my daily mundane tasks to a bot that helps me be more productive when I start my.
Eat your own dog food. So you're using your own services on yourself. Awesome. Very
It,
nice.
it helps me save my at least the first hour, into like just the first 5 minutes. So at least I'm saving my 1 hour per day, and during the start of the day, which is probably the most precious time for you.
Yeah, super. Okay. So most overrated Gen AI implementation or approach or use case according to you?
Customer success.
Yeah, I thought so because it comes to the mind naturally, right? Everybody says that, but yeah. Okay. What's one Gen AI best practice that you completely disagree with?
I think a lot of hyperscalers that we are trying to look into in terms of their offering, I would just caution the buyers to look at how they can leverage their use cases more in private model initiative rather than exposing their data to
Mm.
broader hyperscaler environments or public environments ecosystem, so to speak, because they definitely would prove that initial ROI very quickly, but in the longer run, it's a big risk of you getting exposed to your data.
Yeah, there's always an excitement when you go to a summit by a hyperscaler and you really want to do something with the new launch. And then you're like, oh, I need to step back. Super answer. Awesome. Well, thank you, Vishal. That's all I had for these incredible insights on how RySun Labs is delivering the real Gen AI value in retail and enterprise IT overall. And thank you. Thank you for sharing your mind and your views here.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Chirag.
Awesome. Yeah. For our listeners who want to learn more about the rapid Gen AI implementation with measurable AI, you can follow Vishal's journey at RySun Labs. All the links are in the show notes. Stay tuned for more conversation with leaders reshaping technology and business on CXO Spotlight, powered by Flywheelr. Thank you.
Thank you.
To catch more such interesting conversations, subscribe to our channel on YouTube, Spotify, or Apple Music.